Inside the shadowed observation chamber of the Thrylock High Council, ancient eyes watch the unfolding nightmare of human ferocity. Confusion and dread ripple through the alien observers as they witness humanity's terrifying method of war, a method no species dares provoke. On the other side of the void, a human commander prepares silently, a cold promise on their lips. No one crosses into human space and lives. The chamber was cold, dim, and filled with the low hum of ancient machines far beyond the comprehension of the fledgling human race. The Thrylock High Council stood in a half-circle, their many eyes flickering nervously between the main viewing holoscreen and one another. 1,000 centuries of interstellar dominance had taught them confidence, yet tonight, that certainty unraveled thread by thread. The holoscreen showed a bleak, fractured moon, orbiting a dying star, one thought abandoned and forgotten. And yet from the deep shadows of its cracked surface, something stirred. "Commander Krylos, you understand the risks," intoned the eldest counselor, his voice brittle like dried bone. "This is forbidden territory, a border no one. In the quadrant breaches, what rationale could the humans possibly have for this aggression?" Krylos' compound eyes narrowed as they fixed on the footage. The camera angle shifted, revealing a squad of humans, ragged but fierce, moving silently across the desolate landscape. Their armor was crude by Thrylock standards. No energy shields, no plasma shields. Instead, they wielded metallic relics, with a grim determination, projectile weapons firing silent, precise bursts accompanied by strange devices emitting pulses that disrupted the Thrylock's electronic surveillance. Suddenly, the humans stopped. One raised a hand, but a signal. Then came the explosion. A towering Thrylock mining rig erupted in a shower of sparks and molten metal, collapsing under a cloud of ash and flame. The humans did not flinch. They did not celebrate. They advanced. Holoscreen zoomed in on the aftermath. A single human figure, face obscured by a helmet, bent down and placed a small device on the cratered ground. The device pulsed once, twice, then unleashed an EMP wave that rendered all nearby Thrylock tech lifeless. A collective murmur swept through the council chamber. Disbelief, horror, confusion. "How?" whispered Krylos. "How do they do this? No known species has ever survived a direct EMP strike and moved forward without disintegration." The eldest counselor's mandibles trembled. "They do not fear death. They embrace it." Krylos' attention snapped to a smaller screen at the side. A quiet voice crackled through an intercepted transmission. It was human. 0 hour. No mercy. They cross. They die. The chamber fell into stunned silence. From the shadowed corner of the observation chamber, a junior analyst spoke with trembling tones. "They speak not of negotiation or retreat. It is a warning, a promise." Krylos turned, eyes burning. No one dares cross into human space. They know what follows. Far away, on the surface beneath a sky streaked with dying embers, Commander Elara Voss stood rigid, her breath steady despite the weight of 1,000 lives counting on her. The ground beneath her boots was scorched, yet she did not waver. In her hand, a small, cold device pulsed faintly, a final signal to the galaxy. She spoke quietly, almost to herself, her voice cold steel and ancient resolve. "They think we are primitive. They think we can be bargained with. Let them learn. Otherwise, silence." Then the device blinked once, twice, and vanished into static. The last transmission cut. Human space was closed. On the brink of human space, an alien survey ship hovers, trembling with tension and hidden dread. Its captain struggles to comprehend humanity's brutal code of defense, a deadly silence that speaks louder than words. Meanwhile, aboard the human cruiser Valiant, Commander Voss prepares her crew for the inevitable, their unyielding resolve masking scars born from betrayal and sacrifice. The alien vessel Vexilara drifted at the cold fringe of human space, its sleek form glowing faintly against the endless black. Captain Rilven stood rigid in the command sphere, countless sensor feeds flickering with data, all silent now, save the static hum of his ship's engines. "Report," Rilven demanded. Voice taut like a wire stretched too far. Lieutenant Mirka's compound eyes flickered nervously over the screens. "No signs of life beyond the debris field, Captain. Communications blackout persists. All probes report severe interference, electromagnetic and otherwise. Our stealth arrays are useless here." Rilven's mandibles clenched. "They are hiding something, or worse, they want us to see nothing." Across the bridge, tension thickened the air like toxic smoke. The Vexilara was a state-of-the-art reconnaissance vessel, armed with nanotech sensors and cloaking systems designed to penetrate even the deadliest dead zones. Yet here, at the cusp of human space, every measure failed. "Why do they do this?" Mirka whispered half to herself. "This silence, this waiting, it's madness." Rilven shook his head, eyes narrowing. "Because they know what follows. They command fear with their silence." Aboard the human cruiser Valiant, deep in the human sector, Commander Ilara Voss watched the data feed from the Vexilara's last transmission flicker to black. Her jaw tightened. The quiet space around her was suffocating, the calm before the storm. "Status report," she said, voice low but unyielding. Lieutenant Jin, a young soldier with scars sharper than his, gaze stepped forward. "The Thrylock won't push further. Their ship hangs like a vulture on the edge. They're testing, waiting for a sign." Ilara's eyes hardened. "They want a reason to die." The ship's engineer, Dr. Samir Khan, cleared his throat, stepping into the dim light. "Their tech is impressive, but they underestimate us. Our EMP arrays are tuned to disrupt their systems at a molecular level. The nanites embedded in our armor can adapt to almost any environment. We survive because we evolve." Ilara turned to the viewport, staring out into the void. "We don't just survive, we punish. They cross the threshold once. We'll make sure they never cross again." Her hand rested on the console, hovering over the activation panel of a weapon no one outside her command knew existed. A dark secret buried beneath layers of classified code. "We are the last line," she murmured. "And death is our message." Back on the Vexilara, Rilven's mind churned with questions and dread. Why did humanity embrace such brutal silence? What price had they paid to forge this fortress of quiet destruction? He clenched a fist and whispered to the empty bridge. "What horrors gave birth to this vengeance?" The story deepens into the shadows of humanity's past, revealing the brutal betrayal that forged their ruthless defense. Alien diplomats debate the morality of a species whose pain has twisted into unyielding wrath. Meanwhile, a human scientist grapples with the cost of vengeance and the fragile hope buried beneath their armor. The grand embassy of the Eshrin shimmered in a kaleidoscope of light and shadow, its crystal towers piercing the violet sky of their homeworld. Inside the central chamber, a council of elders debated with rising voices, holograms of human worlds flickering between them. "Do we truly understand what we face?" whispered Councillor Varys, his antennae trembling. "These humans are not mere primitives. Their rage is born of betrayal, ancient and deep." Diplomat Sorel, cloaked in ceremonial garb, nodded grimly. "We once shared treaties, technology, even friendship, but humanity's trust shattered with the blood accord. Their worlds were razed while we dithered. They believed mercy was weakness. And now they are the executioners," interrupted Varys. "We must reconsider our approach." On the scorched earth colony called New Eden, Dr. Tessa Ryland sat alone in her lab, the hum of nanotech processors weaving through the stale air. Her hands trembled as she reviewed ancient records. Remnants of the blood accord, the day humanity. was betrayed by supposed allies. Her voice cracked over the comm. "Commander Voss, they don't understand what made us this way." Ilara's voice came through, calm but weary. "Then show them, Tessa. Show them the cost." Tessa's eyes filled with silent tears. "I built these nanites to protect us, to save lives. But every upgrade, every defense, it's a scar. We became monsters not because we wanted to, but because they made us." A soft silence followed. Back aboard the Vexilara, Captain Rilven replayed intercepted transmissions, desperate to piece together the fractured image of humanity. One phrase echoed louder than all else. "No one crosses. They die." He clenched his fists. "Why does silence terrify us more than war?" Lieutenant Mirka's voice wavered. "Because silence hides what we cannot see. It is the space where fear festers. Humanity's silence is their weapon." At the Valiant, Ilara stood before her crew, eyes blazing with the fire of unspoken wars. "We are the guardians of a sacred boundary. Every step they take toward our worlds is a step toward death. But we are not savages. We are the scar they deserve." Her words carved through the room like a blade. "Remember this, mercy is a gift, not a weakness. We dominate only to protect what remains." In the shadow of the Eshrin council chambers, a lone diplomat whispered, "We may have awakened a force we cannot control." And in the cold silence of human space, that force waited. Tensions explode as the first alien reconnaissance mission ventures too close to human space. The humans respond with merciless precision, unleashing devastating tactics cloaked in silence and technological cunning. The alien crew's fear spirals into panic as they face a foe unlike any they imagined. Relentless, brutal, and utterly unforgiving. The Vexilara hovered just beyond the boundary, scanning the empty void where human space began. The crew's nerves were taut. Every sensor ping echoed like a heartbeat in the silence. "Captain, unidentified object approaching fast," reported Lieutenant Mirka. "No transponder, no communication." Rilven's eyes narrowed. "Prepare defensive protocols. Identify the threat." The object emerged, a sleek, angular craft, black as a void shard, shimmering with adaptive nanocoatings that absorbed every scan. "Human," Rilven breathed. "They've come to hunt." Before the Vexilara could react, the black craft pulsed, a pulse not of light or sound, but of electromagnetic disruption that crippled the alien ship's sensors. Instruments died, displays flickered, and the Vexilara lurched helplessly. In the void, EMP burst. "We're blind," Mirka shouted. From the darkness, human soldiers in powered armor dropped in via grav field pods, silent as ghosts. The Vexilara's bridge erupted into chaos. "Boarders incoming," alarm blared. "Captain." Rilven drew his plasma saber, mandibles clenching. "Hold the line." The boarding party moved with brutal efficiency. Human nanotech melded with their weapons, adaptive rounds that bypassed alien energy shields, blades that tore molecular bonds. In minutes, the bridge was a battlefield of fire and shadow. Rilven's crew fell one by one, caught in a storm of rage and precision. Amid the chaos, a human soldier advanced to the command console. She pressed a button, initiating a countdown. "Detonation in 60 seconds, she whispered. Rilven staggered, realizing the humans had no intention of taking prisoners. "Why?" he gasped, bleeding. The soldier met his eyes, voice icy and final. "No one crosses into human space. They know what follows." The bridge exploded in a silent fireball, the blast ripping through the void like a shockwave of finality. Back on the Valiant, Commander Voss stood over the tactical display, watching the destruction unfold. "They sent a message," she said quietly. "One they won't forget." Lieutenant Jin clenched his fists. "They'll come again." Ilara nodded. "Let them. We're ready." On the ruins of the Vexilara, a single data module floated free, its beacon blinking a silent warning across the stars, a warning none would dare ignore. The aftermath of the first strike reveals the deep costs of humanity's merciless defense. Alien survivors grapple with grief and terror, while humans confront the emotional weight behind their lethal protocols. As silence falls over the battlefield, old wounds and hard truths surface, the price humanity pays to keep others out. The Vexilara was no more. What remained was drifting wreckage, a ghost ship scattered across cold space. On board the Kylthar, the nearest Thrylock warship, Captain Rilven sat, eyes hollow, haunted by the screams he never heard. "Why did they destroy us so completely?" he asked the silent void. Lieutenant Mirka's antennae twitched, her voice brittle. "Because they don't negotiate, they don't capture, they annihilate." Rilven closed his eyes. "They turned mercy into weapon. They became monsters because the galaxy forced their hand." Thousands of kilometers away, aboard the Valiant, Commander Ilara Voss stood alone in the darkened operations room. The hum of dormant EMP emitters filled the silence. Her face was a mask of calm, but inside memories clawed like fire. Dr. Tessa Ryland entered quietly. "Ilara, they're asking for more silence, more death." Ilara nodded. "Every time we hold the line, a part of us dies, but we cannot falter." Tessa's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "We protect with silence, yes, but what if the silence becomes a prison for us too?" Ilara turned, voice steady but raw. "Then we make sure no one else is left to fill it." Across the galaxy, news of the Vexilara's destruction spread. Like wildfire, alien worlds whispered warnings, old alliances shattered, and fear blossomed into panic. In the council chambers of the Eshrin, Councillor Varys addressed the assembly. "We face not just humans, but their wrath, cold, absolute, and unrelenting." Back on Earth, the quiet of the night was broken by the distant sounds of mourning. Soldiers tending wounds that ran far deeper than flesh. Lieutenant Jin confided, "To Ilara, I wonder sometimes who we are beneath the armor. Are we the monsters they fear, or just survivors?" Ilara's gaze was unwavering. "We are what the galaxy made us, and that is enough." The night stretched on, thick with the weight of silence, a silence that spoke louder than any weapon. As tension ripples across the galaxy, a covert alien resistance begins to unravel humanity's secrets. Meanwhile, within human space, clandestine operations hum beneath the surface, revealing the depth of human technological and psychological warfare. Trust fractures, alliances shift, and the galaxy braces for a conflict shaped by whispers, shadows, and deadly truth. Deep within the labyrinthine corridors of the Eshrin spire, whispers carried like sparks in dry tinder. A small faction of alien diplomats, scientists, and former soldiers gathered in shadowed secrecy, desperate to understand, desperate to survive. "We must know their weaknesses," hissed Siltrak, a former intelligence officer whose eyes flickered with fear and determination. "Their silence is a weapon, but silence is not invincibility." Councillor Varys folded his arms, voice low and grim. "Our scouts fail. Our sensors lie. Humanity's technology defies our understanding." A scientist from the Krelnar species chimed in. "Their nanotech armor adapts faster than any known system. Their EMPs scramble more than electronics. They disrupt thought patterns, neural signals." Siltrak's gaze darkened. "They are fighting us in our own minds." Meanwhile, aboard the human cruiser Valiant, Commander Voss oversaw a dimly lit operations center where a handful of specialists worked quietly, analyzing intercepted data and encrypted alien communications. Dr. Tessa Ryland tapped her fingers rhythmically on the console. "We've developed a neural cloak. It masks our intentions and confuses alien minds trying to penetrate our networks." Lieutenant Jin frowned. Sounds like we're becoming as inscrutable as the silence we wield. Ilara's voice cut through the room, steady and unyielding. If they want to survive, they'll have to learn the language of silence. Across star systems, the alien faction known as the Whisper Network began sending encrypted messages to human informants and sympathizers. Risky, fragile lines of contact hinting at possible negotiation. Siltrak's voice was barely audible. In a hidden comm channel, if we can breach their silence, maybe we can break the cycle. But the message was met with cold calculation on the other side. Ilara read the intercepted transmission, lips tight. Trust is a luxury we cannot afford. Every word could be a lie. As the galaxy spiraled toward conflict, the real war was being waged in shadows. Minds locked in a silent battle of wills, secrets, and unspoken threats. And in the heart of human space, silence remained the deadliest weapon of all. Beneath the stoic surface of human space, hidden fractures emerge among the crew of the Valiant. As psychological strain deepens, personal stories of sacrifice and doubt reveal the cost of their ironclad defense. Meanwhile, alien spies edge closer, seeking cracks in the human facade, but what they discover is far darker than expected. The Valiant's corridors were hushed but heavy, every footstep echoing the weight of unseen battles. Commander Ilara Voss sat alone in the briefing room, fingers tracing patterns on the table, mind circling memories best left buried. Lieutenant Jin approached cautiously, voice low. "Commander, the crew's strain is showing. Nightmares, paranoia. They talk of ghosts, of shadows that don't belong." Ilara's gaze lifted, eyes sharp. "We all carry ghosts, Jin. The silence breeds them." Deep in the ship's medical bay, Dr. Tessa Ryland monitored the neural scans of soldiers returning from patrols. The data was grim. Stress markers off the charts, the silent toll of their relentless vigilance. One soldier, Private Hal, spoke, quietly, voice trembling. "We fight an enemy that never speaks, never shows itself. It's like hunting shadows." Tessa nodded, voice gentle but firm. "The silence is part of the war, Hal. It's the weapon, but also the burden." Meanwhile, cloaked figures moved silently through the outer rim of human space. Alien spies, trained in deception and subtlety, sought weaknesses, psychological vulnerabilities to exploit. They intercepted personal logs, watched patterns, studied reactions. But what they found was not weakness, but an abyss of resolve. One spy whispered to another, "These humans, they wear silence like armor. Beneath it is not fear, but a kind of cold fury." Back aboard the Valiant, Ilara stood before her crew, voice steady but raw. "We have lost much. Our silence is a shield and a shackle. We are the guardians of a line the galaxy dares not cross. But to hold it, we must face ourselves." Jin's eyes met hers. "Are we monsters, Commander, or just survivors?" Ilara's voice was steel. "We are both, and that truth is what keeps them away." In the endless void, silence deepened. But beneath it, the human spirit burned fiercer than any star. A rogue faction within the alien coalition launches a covert strike against a human outpost, testing the limits of humanity's tolerance. The attack unravels human protocols, forcing Commander Voss and her crew to confront the brutal consequences of their unyielding stance. Loyalties fracture, and the thin line between mercy and vengeance blurs. The night sky over Outpost Zenith was shattered by sudden explosions, shards of plasma carving through the darkness like angry lightning. Alarm klaxons blared as the outpost's defense turrets roared to life. "Breach in Sector 5, shouted Lieutenant Maris over the comm. "Multiple hostiles detected." Commander Ilara Voss, miles away on the Valiant, stared at the live feed. Muscles tense. "They've broken the silence," she said, voice sharp. "Prepare for full engagement." On the ground, the outpost soldiers scrambled, armor snapping into place with mechanical precision. Nanotech shields flared against incoming fire, but the attackers were relentless, cloaked figures moving like wraiths, exploiting every weakness. Private Hal ducked behind a fractured wall, breathing hard. They don't just want to fight, they want to break us. Back aboard the Valiant, Dr. Tessa Ryland analyzed the data streaming in. This wasn't a random strike, it's a message. They're testing our limits, trying to force us into mistakes. Lieutenant Jin paced, fingers clenched. If they push us too far, what happens then? Ilara's eyes burned. Then they'll learn why no one dares cross into human space. Amid the chaos, a squad of soldiers cornered a wounded alien. A silent prisoner in a battlefield of noise. Ilara's voice came over the comm, cold and unwavering. Do not take prisoners. The protocol is absolute. But a young soldier hesitated, hand trembling on the trigger. Commander, mercy. No, Ilara cut in, is a weakness we cannot afford. As the battle raged, the lines between protector and executioner blurred. The galaxy watched, waiting for the next move, for the silence to break, or for humanity's wrath to swallow all. After the brutal attack on Outpost Zenith, cracks begin to form within human command. Some question the relentless protocols, while others advocate for even harsher measures. Meanwhile, alien factions exploit the discord, and the galaxy's fragile peace teeters on the edge of total war. Commander Ilara Voss stood in the stark council chamber aboard the Valiant. The room thick with tension. Around her, officers whispered heatedly, some demanding escalation, others urging caution. Captain Maris slammed her fist on the table. We cannot show weakness. Every concession invites annihilation. Dr. Tessa Ryland's voice was calm, but resolute. We must remember why we fight. If we lose our humanity, what remains to protect? Lieutenant Jin, weary but determined, added, We're fighting shadows, but our own fear is the greatest enemy. Across the galaxy, alien factions watched the turmoil with wary eyes. The Eshrin Council debated strategy, while the Whisper Network seized the moment to deepen covert operations. Siltrak, the alien spy, reported, Human morale is fractured. If we strike with precision, we can force them to fracture completely. Councillor Varys nodded gravely. The human silence may be cracking. Meanwhile, on the Valiant, Ilara wrestled with her conscience. In the privacy of her quarters, she stared at a faded photograph, a reminder of the cost humanity paid to survive. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Dr. Ryland entered. We're at a crossroads, Ilara. The path we choose now will define the future, not just for us, but for the entire galaxy. Ilara's eyes burned with quiet resolve. Then we must choose carefully, because once the silence breaks, there's no going back. As shadows lengthened across human space, the fragile line between survival and destruction grew thinner, and beneath it all, a storm was gathering. With tensions at a boiling point, a massive fleet from multiple alien factions edges toward human space, intent on breaking the silence with overwhelming force. Humans brace for a war of annihilation, wielding silent but devastating countermeasures. The battle that unfolds tests not only technology, but the unyielding spirit forged through centuries of betrayal and blood. The void outside the Valiant shimmered with an approaching storm, a fleet of alien vessels, their hulls bristling with weaponry, formations precise and menacing. Ilara stood on the bridge, her eyes steady as she addressed the crew. This is what we prepared for. They think their numbers will drown us. They don't know what silence means. Lieutenant Jin tapped the tactical display. We've deployed nano-EMP mines along the perimeter. Once triggered, they'll blind the fleet's sensors and scramble their comms. Dr. Tessa Ryland adjusted the neural cloak controls. Our minds will be shielded. They can't outthink what they can't see. The first shots fired were not bright beams or fiery explosions, but pulses of silence, waves of electromagnetic chaos that rippled through the enemy ranks. Alien ships floundered, their sensor networks collapsing into darkness. Captain Rilven's voice crackled over intercepted comms, strained and frantic. "They are ghosts, attacking with no warning, no sound. We cannot fight what we cannot find." Amid the chaos, human strike teams descended silently, using gravfield pods and cloaked armor to dismantle enemy vessels from within. Ilara's voice was calm but fierce. "Remember, no prisoners, no mercy. We defend our home with everything we have." The battle was a dance of shadows and light, death and survival, every moment stretched, every breath held tight. When the dust settled, the alien fleet was shattered, retreating into the void with heavy losses. The silence returned, heavier, deeper, but unbroken. Ilara looked out at the dark stars, voice low but certain. "No one dares cross into human space. They know what follows." In the aftermath of devastating war, both humans and aliens grapple with the cost of silence and survival. Unexpected acts of mercy challenge hard-earned hatred, forcing commanders to confront the fragile humanity beneath layers of fear and vengeance. The future of the galaxy hangs in a delicate balance. The battlefield was a quiet graveyard, shattered ships drifting like dead stars, silence pressing heavy on all who remained. Commander Ilara Voss moved among the wounded, her armor stained with soot and sweat. She knelt beside a captured alien soldier, eyes meeting his in a moment of raw vulnerability. "You don't have to be our enemy," she said softly, voice breaking the endless silence. The alien blinked, confusion and fear warring in his gaze. Why would you show mercy?" Ilara's answer was quiet but firm. "Because mercy is the last weapon that separates us from becoming what we fight against." Back aboard the Valiant, debates raged in hushed tones. Some called for crushing, retaliation. Others whispered of negotiation. Dr. Tessa Ryland argued, "If we lose our compassion, we lose everything." "The silence can't be absolute," Lieutenant Jin nodded, "but every act of mercy is a risk. They could exploit it." Ilara stood tall. "Then we will be ready. But we must never forget, the galaxy remembers both silence and mercy." Far across the stars, alien leaders listened to the rumors of human mercy, a dangerous crack in their image of an unyielding foe. Councillor Varys sighed. "Perhaps there is hope, or a new weapon we do not yet understand." In the quiet that followed the storm, the fragile dance between vengeance and mercy began, the true test of what it meant to be human. The final chapter reveals the full cost and terrifying legacy of humanity's silent war. As fragile alliances form and old enemies reckon with new truths, humanity's ironclad defense stands as both a warning and a promise. No one dares cross into human space because they know what follows. The story closes on a mythic, haunting note of power, sacrifice, and an uncertain future. The void trembled with quiet tension as emissaries from fractured alien factions arrived at the edge of human space. Their ships bore marks of battle and negotiation, scarred, hesitant but alive. Commander Ilara Voss stood aboard the Valiant, eyes scanning the distant fleet like a sentinel guarding an ancient gate. "We have drawn the line," she said. "Not with words, but with blood, silence and fire. No one dares cross." Lieutenant Jin stepped forward, voice measured. "They fear us, not just our weapons, but what lies beneath. The will, the sacrifice, the truth of what happens if they come." Ilara's gaze hardened. "We are the last line, the silent storm the galaxy cannot predict." Among the alien envoys, Councillor Varys met with Ilara in a tense parley. The air between them was thick with unspoken history. You Humans, Varys said quietly, are unlike anything we imagined. You are not savages nor gods, but something terrifyingly human. Ilara's voice was steady. We are survivors, betrayed and hunted, yes, but never broken. A long silence stretched between them, the weight of countless sacrifices pressing down. As the emissaries withdrew, a single transmission echoed across the void, a whispered promise from humanity's commanders. No one dares cross into human space. They know what follows. The words hung like a shadow over the stars, a warning, a legacy, a myth yet to be fully told. In the stillness, beneath cold stars and ancient silence, humanity's place was carved into the galaxy, unyielding, unforgiving, unforgotten.